This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 506 for Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. The podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms, including YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, please consider subscribing wherever you're listening. Joining me, as usual, is my friend Steven. You can find him at Steven ESC on all the social media that matters, and he spells it with a PH, just in case you're wondering. Hello, sir.
Hello. The FYI, the PH. I always forget to mention it, but thanks for catching it this time.
At some point, we'll just glaze over it and then we'll repeat it again, and people eventually catch on. I mean, I don't know if there's a Steven ESC with a V. I haven't looked. Have you?
I have not, actually. It's a good point.
I know that there's a Joel Duggan out there in the States that's a photographer. And when I was first getting into tech and like social media was first coming out and all that stuff, I had to jump to get my name on things like Twitter and Instagram and things. And the one thing I don't have is my Gmail. I have to use my middle initial because he already had a Gmail. And there's a couple of other things. I think Flickr, which makes sense as a photographer, he was, on top of that when it first came out. Yeah. And all that. So I most of the time I am able to get my name on any illustration sites like DeviantArt and ArtStation and all that. I was very easy to get my name because it was a different focus of the social media platform.
You're both in the same race, but going after different goals.
Yeah. The real race came for like anything that was graphic design based, like Dribbble. You remember Dribbble? And there's a bunch of other sites like that. I'd have to be like right on top of it because there was an overlap between like the photography and the graphic design. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to have to stay on top of this. Speaking of design, one of the neat things that I have been staying on top of lately is the YouTube channel for Jenna Phipps, Phipps. I will have a link in our live chat in my Discord, and I'll also, of course, include this in our show notes at thecitadelcafe.com. This is a pair in British Columbia, Nick and Jenna. They are partners, and they are rebuilding their mid-century modern BC home. I am pretty sure that I've mentioned this on the show before. It's getting to the point now, though, where they are putting in the finishes inside. So window trims, doors, cabinetry, not headboards, but like wood paneling. Their countertops went in episode 120 in their kitchen. And they're green, like granite stone next to all this really warm wood. Worth checking out episode 120, even though it's a bit of a spoiler for like the last, I want to say 2 years that I've been watching. But it's really satisfying to see the home come together. They worked with an architect and some engineers because, of course, it needed some structural upgrades. And they have really done a good job. Jenna, I believe, is a designer by trade, but not like a graphic designer. I think she's a textile designer. I think that's what she did her work in. But there's an overlap between like interior design and like all that kind of stuff is kind of like part and partial of what she does. But most like her focus, I think she said she's a textile designer. So she's got some interesting tastes and she definitely knows colors. And Nick has got a background in construction and electrician stuff. So he's got a lot of skills that translate. They've also just learned a lot. And I've learned a lot watching them over the last, I want to say 2 years. And it's just really cool because they bought this thing and like there were holes in the roof. They had to shovel the wet, moldy carpet out of this place. And you wouldn't know to look at it now. They did, I think on their 1 year mark, they did like a look back video where they took the week off. They went to celebrate somewhere. I think someone got married in Hawaii, not them, but like a friend. And they said, all right, well, we're out of town this week. So here's a bunch of like clips from the year. And they rewind all the way to the beginning. And you're like, oh my God, like they ripped this place down to the studs. It didn't have a roof last spring. Like there was nothing, So they've really done a lot to the place. And they're really doing and taking the time to add all this stuff. Like Nick's got a server in the basement. He's got Cat 5 running through all the walls. Like it's really going to be cool, especially for a pair that are YouTubers. And well, I mean,
Right.
he is now. He wasn't when they started. She was, but he wasn't when they started, and he is now.
He was pulled along for the ride.
Yeah, 100%. And he's a natural too. They're both really genuine. They're Canadian, obviously, and they're pretty young too. I want to say they're under 30, and they're just doing such a great job. And their attention to detail is what I really admire. That's the kind of thing that I would get into. Like if and when I own my own home, when I redo a room or redo a kitchen or something like that, this is the level of detail that I would absolutely be into. And I can only imagine the learning that they've had to do, because it's not that they've had any decisions that have had to be hamstrung by, well, this is the existing kitchen, these are the walls, this is what we have to do to make this work. So we've got this confine set of parameters that are keeping us within this box. They had a carte blanche, kind of like do whatever you want. So the paralysis of choice must have been just overwhelming. I don't know how they narrowed it down to how they're doing it. Outside of some old photos of the original house before it got run down, and they use that as kind of like inspiration. They're keeping in like the whole 70s, mid-century modern, kind of like late 50s vibe too. So, but it's cool. I highly recommend it. I believe it's just Jenna Phipps on YouTube for people that are listening. Yeah, Jenna Phipps, JennaPhipps. And they have 1.47 million subscribers. So they have quite a few eyeballs on them right now, and worth a watch. Very chill Wednesday evening, dinner time, like half an hour of people doing home renos. They've got a great personality, both of them. And they do a good job of like keeping it entertaining. Like you're not just watching them do renos. It's not just time lapses. It's a lot of talking, which is great.
Very cool.
So what have you been up to the last month or so?
I mean, as you know, it's been unfortunate, but I've been down sick for a chunk of it, which was really unfortunate for how I was feeling. But I managed to binge a few shows that I had. There was the Star Wars Mall show that you had talked about last time, and I was able to catch up and blow through that entire show and basically agree with all of your points. And I guess just to say, if anyone hasn't heard the podcast yet, go watch the previous episode or listen to the previous episode. And Joel's review, I agree with entirely. The last number of episodes were top notch, and not disappointed that I watched that one. And then I happened to catch new Spider Noir as well, which is the new kind of sort of Spider-Verse, I guess, show that's based off of the animated character that Nicolas Cage plays in Across the Spider-Verse. And so they created this black and white, it's actually pretty cool. It's this spin-off show based on the character from the animation from the comics as well. So you can choose to watch the show in black and white or color, which is pretty neat. Talking to my family about it, they're like, why would you, his character is black and white in the animation, why would you do a color version? Which I sort of agree with. It seemed like a weird choice to offer it in color and black and white, but I tried watching it both, and I watched the color all the way through. It was just the black and white was neat, but it was very much period time back in the day. Like, you see, yeah, I'm coming at you, man. Like that kind of lingo, and like gangsters, and the suits they had on were really cool. So then when I flipped over to the color briefly, man, the colors in those suits just popped. And so while I liked the authenticity of the black and white to the cartoon character, it was just so much more visually stunning and interesting. Watching the color version. So I watched that all the way through. It's a totally different take on how the Spider person gets powers. What the strengths are, side effects are, and it was really cool. And Nicolas Cage is just that era of character just seems written just for him. And he was really good at the voice in the animation, and I think he just. He's just kind of, just corny enough. Come on, man. Come on. He's just, I mean, I can't do a good impersonation of him, but it was, he was excellent in the role, and I thought a whole cast of characters were fun. So yeah, I recommend it if you got the chance to watch it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's a lot of fun.
I have seen it scroll by on Prime. I haven't watched it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me in the trailer or the clip that I saw, because it kind of auto played like a promo when you hover over it on Prime.
Right.
It reminds me of the Dick Tracy film from 1990. Do you remember that?
I do, and that's what I was thinking. Like with the especially watching it in color, just the shapes of the suits, the shapes and cut of the suit and the color. It felt very much like that. It made me want to go back and watch the original the Dick Tracy movie from years ago. I haven't watched it yet, but it's just I thought that was such a visually interesting movie for its time. Just every character I felt like a really well rendered, fairly realistic version of a cartoon version of the same characters.
100%, yeah. Because Dick Tracy was a comic strip, I think, not a comic book. Or I mean, it started off as a comic strip. It might have been a comic book at some point, but it started off as a comic strip, so the characters were much more simple than the characters from like DC Comics or Marvel Comics. It was a lot more straightforward and older, I believe, too. I don't know the history. I only remember the movie just now. I completely forgot it existed until you started talking about the pops of the colors and the suits. And I thought, wait a minute, where have I seen that before? And it makes me think of films like Sin City and Dick Tracy, and I guess 300 to an extent, but 300 was a little bit different. But Sin City was the first, I think, film since the 90s Dick Tracy where I was like, oh yeah, they can do this really graphic looking stuff, because you don't see that take very often. It's usually left to animated movies, and which, I mean, I guess the closest thing in an animated movie lately would be like the Into the Spider-Verse films. Those are really graphic and high contrast and bright colors.
Oh yeah,
neon and spray paint and stuff like that.
I cannot wait for the third one to come out. I've been so disappointed so many times with the number of times that movie's been bumped back. It was just, it's going to be a good one when it comes out. But it's not that I want to spend too much time on the whole Dick Tracy thing, but as you were talking about it, the colors of the suits in that were just, I was surprised that they were able to pull it off in a way where just a straight yellow trench coat looked awesome. And then you've got one of the bad guys where it was just a full green suit. So it was like they were taking the simple colors of the inks that were available for the comic strip characters in the past and just using those. And then they carried that over to the movie, and it was just phenomenal. So it's not quite the same way in Spider Noir, because the suits are more realistic, but still the colors of the day were quite vibrant. Pretty slick.
So we have another email this week. I love hearing from our listeners. This one is from Smurf588. Hi, Joel and Steven. I hope you're both keeping well. I've been reading the great series of books called Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I highly recommend them. However, they're not for young readers. It got me thinking of how much I would like to see either a movie or series based on these books with someone like Carl Urban in the lead role. If you could adapt a book or comic to a movie or series, what would it be, and who would you choose to play the lead? Great show as always. Keep up the great work, Smurf588. And the quote is, beneath this mask, there's more than just flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. And that's from V from Vendetta, for people that don't know. I didn't know that. As I was reading it, it's like, I don't know where that's from. But Smurf was kind enough to include where the movie is from. It's one of their favorite quotes, which is why they included it. I like this whole include a quote from a movie as your sign off. I think it's really fun.
Yeah. So
who or what would you like to see switched into a series or a movie?
Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, I've mentioned it before on earlier episodes of the podcast, and I've been a fan of the Bone graphic novel series for a long time. Bone by Jeff Smith, and it's one of those shows that sounds like it's going to have a showrunner, and then sounds like it's going to go ahead and but gets canceled or gets dropped, whatever, multiple times, and it sounds like it's going to be a no-go. Dreams are crushed, unfortunately, but so some characters I don't know who I would want to play, like the main character, like Thorn, I can't really think of any voice actors that I feel like would fit the different, phony bone characters right off the top of my head. But like Grandma Rose, I could see Julie Walters from Billy Elliot in the Harry Potter series. Like if you aged her up a bit, I think she'd be a fantastic Grandma Thorn, because she looks old in the cartoon, and she is old in the cartoon, but she's a tough lady, and I feel like Julie Walters be able to pull off like that. She'd be a Spitfire and fit the role perfectly well. So I think she'd be great in that. And then maybe for the main character Thorn, her granddaughter, I was thinking, I don't know, Lily Reinhardt could be good. But I think, I don't know, she might be a bit old, and I feel like Thorn would be sort of, you'd want someone a bit more tough and rugged, which I don't know that Lily could do it or not, because I haven't seen her in any of those roles, but she's the only one I could think of at the top of my head. I had somebody picked ages ago, but I can't remember. I couldn't remember who it was before the recording here, but that's what I've got for that one right now. And I've got some other choices too, but like, what would be one of your books or you'd like to see put into a movie?
So the thing is, I don't read as much fiction as I used to, and the last time I did, it was a huge series like Game of Thrones, which of course was made into a TV series. So I was thinking about the latest fiction that I've read, and while I've got like an ensemble cast book on the go right now, it's been several months since I picked it up. I think Christopher Moore's books would make really good modern fantasy adventure stories, though. Things like Practical Demon Keeping, or It's a Dirty Job. The Dirty Job is about a guy that becomes a Grim Reaper, even though he's still alive, and he has to kind of go around and fill that role. But there's other like dark forces and demons in the sewers, and it's very fantasy. It's the kind of thing that you would see or anticipate in like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, or like it's got that kind of level of weirdness to it, and it's a lot of spirituality, different religions all mishmashed together, history made into some sort of, not factual, but some sort of reality that his characters have to then navigate. I really like Practical Demon Keeping, and it's one of his older books. And one of the cool things about it is that you could do it as a period piece because it was written in the late 80s, early 90s, there's no cell phones. So some of the plot devices in the book are like, characters can't reach other characters because they can't get to a payphone, or people aren't picking up their landline when they're calling in this small Northern California town. So if you did it like a period piece, like an 80s, kind of like a Stranger Things, 70s and 80s, I think it would go very, very well. And actors like Ryan Gosling, David Cornsweet, or Austin Butler would be great for any of the main characters that Christopher Moore has showcased. I don't remember their ages, but it's probably because I was reading the books that I kind of projected my own age onto the main characters in the books. So like, someone that's in their late 30s, early 40s, like that kind of a deal. But they're really, really fun reads, and they're funny.
Well, that's good. I find it hard to find novels. Personally, I find it hard to find novels that I find funny on a regular basis as you read through it. Every once in a while there might be a good joke or quip in it, but a good funny book has been hard for me to find.
Yeah, they're easy reads. You can borrow Practical Demon Keeping if you want. It's on my shelf.
Yeah, for sure. Totally.
I love introducing friends to Christopher Moore because they're fun books, and he has this thing where a side character in one book will end up being a main character in another.
Okay, that sort of answers the question I had for you. I was wondering if it was one of those ones where like Jack Ryan in every book kind of thing, or does every book have its own cast?
Every book so far that I've read has had its own cast. And I haven't read a lot. I've read like 2 or 3. There's more, nice. But there's things like I can't remember the name of the angel one. Something about a fallen angel, and then Lamb, the Gospel According to Biff, was hilarious. It is the story of Jesus, but there's a 13th apostle named Biff, and so you get Biff's perspective, and it's
like BIFF.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
And he tells stories about like, if you're the idea, I think if I remember correctly, and I don't think I have a copy of this anymore. I think I lent it to somebody and they didn't return it. But on the back of the book, I feel like the description was, if you are the son of God and you have all that power and you're 13, you have some fun with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like just mischievous teenagers, like doing their pilgrimage out in the world, discovering who they are going to be before he starts his ministry at 30, as per the the story. But that follows Jesus through all these like weird scenarios and like different continents and like all this stuff. And it's really cool because what he ends up doing is like in the process of talking about this very, famous Christian figure, he introduces the reader to Buddhism, and I can't remember the name of the African religion he talks about, and then there's another one as well. Right. So like it's really cool. Judaism was the other one. It's really, really cool, and there's a lot of fun quotes and moments in it. But yeah, Christopher Moore's got some good stuff. One of the ones that I have not read, but I believe Chad has, is The Lust Lizard of Melancholy Cove. And I'm pretty sure that the demon from Practical Demon Keeping is the Lust Lizard, but it's not a main character. It's like a force that is like influencing the main characters in the book, and people only get glimpses of this thing, so they call it a lizard because it has like a lizard tail. And so
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, but then when you actually get to the Practical Demon Keeping, it's like he's one of the main characters. He's got a personality. He's like friends with the main character. Like he's a full role in that book. And so there's a lot of overlap like that throughout Moore's books, which are fun. There's a sequel to Dirty Job, but I haven't read it yet. I want to. The other one that I was thinking of for comics was an Image comic that I was very into as a teenager. It was called Cyberforce. It was by Alan Silvestri, and I just really liked the art, and it was a pretty cool like team comic. There was a lot of these around that time in the 90s where there was like your leader guy, and then you had like a team of people around the leader guy, and there would be like the big dude guy or girl. There would be like the hothead guy or girl. There'd be the speedster guy or girl, and then there'd be a bunch of like different characters that would be more unique and twisted. And the way that this was pitched, if I remember, it's similar to X-Men, where the heroes would have some sort of mutation or power, but it would be really augmented by tech, by like a cybernetic implant, varying in degrees of outward appearance. So Stryker, the main character, had 4 arms, but he had 3 on one side and 1 on the other. And
that's unusual.
Yeah, and the 3 on one side were all mechanical, I think, and then or mostly mechanical. And then his 1 regular arm on his one side was natural, kind of like looked like a normal human. And then there was another guy that had like long claws that would extend. It was kind of like a ripoff of Wolverine, honestly, a rip claw. But he was very different in terms of his character, because if I remember correctly, I believe he was First Nations. And so there'd be opportunities there to have some actors that have not done a lot of work, or have some like culturally appropriate people cast. And I'm not familiar enough with First Nation actors to say who should or shouldn't be in that role. But he was also a little bit older. Like he wasn't like a young 20-year-old. He'd be more like in his 40s in this book. And then I would say some actors like Ana de Armas, Anya Taylor-Joy, Glenn Powell, Alan Richardson would be good for this. Kind of the over-the-top action people, or people that have done that before, would be great.
Right.
But they all had really good personalities, and they had backstories and cool stuff like that. It was a fun ride. And so I would highly recommend people check out Cyberforce. But then think about like who you might cast. Now, Impact was always my favorite. He was like the big kind of like Hulk guy in the background, but he wasn't stupid. Like he was kind of like a surfer dude, and he had like long hair, but he was massive. He was like 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide or something crazy. And so he would be CG. So you'd have to have somebody probably in a mocap suit, like Josh Brolin or Mark Ruffalo did for Avengers. I don't know who you would get to do it. And the cool thing is, like, that actor wouldn't necessarily have to be a big dude. You could get anybody that could fill that role from an acting standpoint, and I think it would work.
That's really cool. I guess for me, I did have one other choice, just because I'm a fan of the webtoon. It's called Space Boy by Stephen McCrane. It's sort of a little bit on hiatus right now, so I'm really hoping it comes back soon. We bought one of the books, and the artwork in it is just so good. It's just the line quality. I'm not sure if you ever saw the Hilda animated series that I think it was on Netflix. I can't remember right now.
I don't know if I've watched all of it, but I've certainly seen bits of it.
in terms of the animation and things happening in one episode, like if somebody, broke a hole in the wall in one episode, it would be there every episode afterwards for multiple seasons. So it remembers all of the things from every episode that happens throughout the entire show, which I find rarely ever happens. And the voice acting is really fun in it, and like I said, the quality of the line and the solid colors and everything. It looks like it's a children's picture book come to life and done really, really well. And so I'd love to see it done in the same style. Then for me, I think an age appropriate pick for the lead would be Ryan Kira Armstrong, who was slated to play the Nova in the new Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show that didn't survive, unfortunately. But I guess I haven't seen her in a bunch of stuff, but she the few things I have seen her in, she was quite good. Or it could be like McKenna Grace or Emma Myers would fit the role well as well. I think they'd be too old for the role, but could play younger. But I think there's like more seasoned actors and could pull the role off easily. But yeah, Space Boy, it's quite a well done series.
Fun. So we're going to move on to the main discussion, which is going to be centered around The Mandalorian and Grogu and Masters of the Universe. Both films are out now in theaters, and Stephen and I had the opportunity to see both in person and hang out with some friends as we did that. It was super fun. And I'm enjoying the whole going to the theater together thing, as opposed to like watching a streaming thing at home by ourselves and then coming together to talk about it. It's fun to have like that initial reaction. So we try not to talk it to death right after we've seen it, because we want to talk about it on the show. But we do have some initial kind of like gut reactions and things as we drive home or talk in the parking lot with a couple of guys, whatever. But I think we should probably start with The Mandalorian and Grogu, because we saw that first.
Sure.
And I liked it. I have recommended to friends that have been on the fence that I think that they should go see it. I think they should go see it in theaters. I think that it did the show justice. And if you bring a friend that has never seen The Mandalorian and Grogu, then they won't be lost. You get caught up pretty fast. They don't beat you over the head with it. It's not a long bit of exposition, but the action sequences and the relationship between Mando and Grogu are pretty clear. And the conversation that they have with Sigourney Weaver, who plays a rebel general, really kind of bring you up to speed as to where they are, what their mission is. It doesn't really matter what happened in the series. I think people that have seen it are going to have a lot more of a rewarding experience than the people that haven't, but you're not going to dislike the film, I don't think. You might have some questions here or there.
But I think it's one of those shows as well that, like, for me, if you saw Mandalorian and Grogu as a title for a movie and you saw that it was in the Star Wars world, but you haven't watched the show, I don't think this movie was for people who haven't seen the show yet.
No, they certainly didn't make it. They made it accessible, but they didn't make it for a broad audience. They definitely made it for people that are familiar with the franchise and stuff like that. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I would say that even if you are a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen the Mandalorian series, but you've seen a bunch of stuff like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, like extended universe stuff, you'd probably still be okay. Like, I think you'd wrap your head around it, because, I mean, we'll get into some spoilers, but a heads up that we will talk about some plot points and some things that are happened. So if you don't want any cameo spoilers or anything like that, then don't listen. Come back later. I can't remember his name. Rada the Hutt, maybe, is...
I believe that was it, yeah.
Yeah, Rada. Played by Jeremy Allen White, which was weird, is in the film a lot and talks a lot in just plain English in basic, as opposed to Huttese, which is usually subtitled. And that was from the Clone Wars. Like, I believe Ahsoka and Anakin have a mission in the first Clone Wars episode or the Clone Wars movie where they have to basically rescue and or babysit Rada the Hutt as like a little baby, like the size of Grogu, kind of little slugling thing. And to bring him back and have him in like a gladiator pit was really interesting and cool to see a Hutt move around like that, and how they would be a really formidable adversary. But at the same time, I found it really strange that he was just talking English It felt strange to me. It was like a voice coming out of an animated character's head that didn't make any sense. Also, and no shame to Jeremy Allen White, he doesn't have a deep enough voice for the size of the body. I think they did a little digital deepening to it, but like it didn't fly. It felt very, very small compared to how big he was. Especially when you grow up listening to Jabba the Hutt in the movies, like the big, all the deep laughs and like all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. It didn't really sail for me.
Yeah.
I would say broad strokes on the film. It felt big. It was different. It definitely feels like the Mandalorian series, which feels a lot more like a spaghetti western than it does like a sci-fi show. And so the film has that western vibe to it for sure. Right from the opening credits, cold open, it has a lot of action, and a lot more action than I remember being in the last season of Mando. I feel like there's been a lot of character development and a lot of story, which is good in the series, but somewhere along the lines, you forget that Mandalorian is badass. Like, this guy is like the John Wick of Star Wars, and they reintroduce that to you in this film, and they do so immediately, and so it's really, really fun right off the bat.
Yeah,
I would say the effects looked good. I really liked that they stuck with a lot of traditional like puppetry effects for Grogu, and I don't remember the name of the little guys that.
Not me either.
Anzelians, maybe? I think that's the Anzelians. The little fix-it guides. They're smaller than Grogu, and they speak English in a broken way, but they're little puppets as well. And that all worked quite well, I think. There's a couple of CG moments that weren't the best. Usually characters. Rod of the Hutt in any kind of acting scene wasn't very good. The action stuff in the pit was fine. All the monsters that came out, like that was a cool sequence. The chase scenes, like spaceships, like all that stuff was great. Oh man, the flying scenes, the dog fighting scenes with the new Razor Crest and the Imperial ships that were after him, like it was like Top Gun level of dogfight in a Star Wars movie that you didn't expect to see Like I didn't go to this thinking we're going to see some space battles. Nope, I expected westerns and hand to hand and lasers and blasters, but not like a full on dogfight. And then you are reminded that not only is he incredibly efficient at hand to hand, he's also a really good pilot. Like it's just it was really badass, which I thought was great. Those are, I think, the biggest selling points, is that it's got all the things that you like from Mandalorian just amped up to Star Wars level. It's not the same feeling as a tentpole Star Wars movie like episodes 4, 5, 6, but it certainly has legs of its own and does, I think, the show justice.
I guess I agree with those points, and I guess just because I don't want to forget it, but just to go with the dog fights in the sky, one of the things that I don't find is done super often, but I think is an amazing effect, is when it's almost like there's a camera watching from the outside in a jet that's trying to keep up or something, because it couldn't keep the ships in the middle of the frame the entire way. Like it was shaking trying to follow the ship. So it made it feel even dodgier, and just it amped up the level of the action in that dogfight for me. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, they do that thing where they show you the scene of the two ships flying around each other in a dogfight, and then it zooms in. But it zooms in a way that you think, like, this is a person's focus. Like, I'm going to look at the Mandalorian ship and we're going to follow that. Like, you're seeing what's happening, you're assessing the situation, and then you zoom in. But as soon as you zoom in, it's shakier because of the focal length. Yeah. Like, it's really well done.
Yeah. I thought that was very, very cool. Overall, though, it's tough because I enjoyed the movie overall, but I agree with a lot of the points that you made, but they were just, on some level, it just felt too much like just another Mandalorian episode.
I can see that.
Cranked up with the special effects, cranked up with the action, cranked up with, everything in it was better. But like, even when I came home from the movie, my family asked me how it was, and I said, it was good, but it kind of felt like, a long episode, just basically what I just said, a long episode of the show. And then one of my sons goes, did they have a bounty they needed to go take care of and like flew away to another planet? I said, yeah. did they get double crossed and then have to still manage to find a way to deliver the goods and get the prize in the end? I went, yeah. He goes, yeah. Just like, and so it was almost like I was trying to figure out why it felt so familiar, and they just summed it up in like 2 sentences and went, wow, that was it pretty much. And I think it also just, it didn't feel like they introduced any new significant characters of consequence. Like nothing from this movie is going to carry on into another movie or come back to the show. Like I don't even know if they're doing any more seasons. So it was very much a one-off, self-contained thing, which isn't bad, but I guess I wanted something grander, a bigger world experience. So again, overall, I enjoyed it, but I just felt like it was, I don't know, missing a little something. Like
I do think they're setting up that we're going to see more of Zeb, Steve Blum, the purple guy. You wouldn't be as familiar with him because he was in Rebels, which I don't think you've seen. But
no, I've not.
And this is after Rebels, so like it's not like they're setting up anything more with Rebels. But I think we're probably going to see Zeb at some point in the next season of Ahsoka, depending on how they roll with that. So I'm assuming they're probably going to pull some of these characters and have them go in other things, but not the main characters. I agree. Like I think it's a very standalone thing for the main characters, but I'd like to see more. I think it's Carson Teva is the one that Paul Sun-Kung Lee plays. I think that's his character's name. X-Wing pilot.
Is he the one who had the larger sort of disc light hat?
No, that I don't remember the name of that bounty hunter. That's a different character altogether. No, this
very cool.
Yeah, Paul Sun-Kung Lee. He's from Kim's Convenience. He plays Appa, and he's in Avatar. He plays Uncle Iroh in the live action.
Right,
Avatar.
One of the X-Wing fighters. Right.
Yeah. And he's great as a Star Wars character. He's been in Mando, and he's been in. I feel like they put him in Andor, maybe. No, he wouldn't be in Andor. A different timeline. I've seen him in a couple of things.
He might have been in Ahsoka or the Books of Boba Fett kind of thing.
Oh,
because they were all in and around the same era,
I think you're right. Sense. I think you're right. I'm conflating the different things that he might have been in. But yeah, he's really, really cool. And I like him. And that actually brings up one of the other things that I thought was good, because I agree with what you were saying, is that yes, it did feel very familiar. It wasn't a knock out of the park for me. Like it was good, but it was not. Well, not that anything I expect to be perfect, but like I felt it could have been better in some ways. I feel like the middle section, well, one, it was really long. It was like 2 hours and 12 minutes. And the middle section is slow.
Yeah.
And they have that happen a couple of times. There are definitely some pacing issues in and around the development of the plot in like the middle of Act 2 or the end of Act 2. And there's this whole piece in the middle where Grogu is taking care of Mando, who's been really badly injured. And so it's a lot of puppetry. Like it's just all Grogu. There's no talking, with the exception of like the fish guy in the hut that he talks to. But that's it. And while it's cool and it's nice to see, and it's great to know that we're getting the communication that Grogu is capable on his own without Mando. Like at this stage, he doesn't really need Mando as a babysitter. Like he's not a full-on partner because he's still tiny and, like still needs some protection.
And he still pushes buttons he shouldn't.
Yeah, but he's still capable if it's really pushed to it, and he has the opportunity to say, okay, this is important. I have to not be a kid anymore. I have to like kind of man up and do this, for the lack of a better way to say it.
True.
Then he can. I don't think it belongs in this movie. I think that would have been a really good episode in the middle of a series, right? Like I feel like it would have been a nice little break from what was happening. It would have been some great character development.
One whole episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
20 minutes.
That would have been a great episode.
But 20 minutes of it in the middle of a 2-hour film felt like an eon. Like as cool as it was to see, as cool as it was from a special effects and design standpoint, it was kind of boring. I wasn't my favorite thing. But then they flipped that, and the epic climactic battle and escape scene with the X-Wings coming in and destroying the hut. I can't remember what their names are. The twins that double cross Mando, and there's the big snake fight that he has to do, and like all this stuff happens like all at the very, very
which was
end.
cool. The snake fight.
Yeah, the snake fight was cool. The X-Wings coming in and with the Y-Wing bombers. And like, what's really cool that you often forget is how big X-Wings and Y-Wings are as aircraft and how powerful they are. Because so often they're going up against either TIE fighters, which are fine, but they're intimidating because there's like dozens of them. Or it's an X-Wing next to an Imperial class Star Destroyer. And you're just like, well, what the hell are you going to do? Like there's there's nothing, right?
No realistic
scale. Or a Death Star. From the movies, you really don't get to see them up against anything other than just like other fighters or big, like crazy things. So when you have essentially like a wood and mud structure or other kind of like cannons or basically what would be considered like normal defenses on a planetary base, when these X-Wings and Y-Wings come in and start shooting, they screw shit up. Like they are heavy hitters. Like they shot maybe one or two photon torpedoes into the Hutt fortress, leveled the thing. Like just amazing effects and that cool feeling, I think, of, you know, the X-Wings coming in, the pilots talking to one another. It's like, it's just a little bit of what everybody wants from a Star Wars movie. And they didn't use it as a crutch. They used it as like we're helping out Mando at the end. Cause ultimately at the end of that film, you don't think he can get out of it on his own. Like he really does need the help. And I think that was kind of the point, is that like he's doing all these things on his own, these bounty hunter things, but he is helping the New Republic. Like he's helping the good guys on purpose. So yeah, I did like that part of it. But yeah, it's definitely got the, I guess the reins or the feels of a extended Mando episode. It doesn't feel like it's kind of too outside the box, which I don't know if they went too outside the box. I wonder if people would have liked it, right? I kind of wonder if they went too far off the beaten path, if people would be just like, well, that's not what I wanted, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they would have done it differently that would have made it better. But I don't know. Like, as I said, like there's just some elements that made it feel like it was just very much one of the standalone episodes. And yeah, kind of wanted a bit more, and I couldn't tell you how they should have gone about that. But no, overall though, still, if you're on the fence, it's still enjoyable. If you liked the show and liked the format, you're gonna like this movie. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. It just again, you know, Joel and I have said in the past, sometimes it's like when you like something and it feels like it's not quite there. It's easy to harp on the stuff that's not quite there. But overall, enjoyable movie.
Moving on to Masters of the Universe. We just saw this last week. I don't even think it's been a week since we've seen it. And
no, it's Friday.
Friday evening. It was definitely a time. I had lots of mixed feelings leaving the theater on this one. I think I might be alone in this. I think most of the people with us enjoyed it to a point. I will again give everyone a spoiler warning. It's brand new. Like it just came out like a week or two ago. I think it was June 5th. So we will be spoiling major plot points and different aspects of the film that I would hate to spoil for someone if you are a fan and you're just going to go in there and try to enjoy it to the best of your ability. I also don't want my opinion to taint people's view of it. It's one of those movies I feel like you have to go see for yourself if you're that interested and form your own opinion, because I think it's going to be very divisive. I have not yet gone and watched a lot of reviews. I did check out one, but I get the feeling that as I look at the people that I normally watch review films, I feel like it's going to be mixed. I'm really curious to see some of the reactors that I watch on YouTube finally get around to watching this, because they're usually not people that go to the theaters. They wait for this kind of stuff to come out in home video. So I'm curious how that's going to go. I didn't like it. I really was disappointed in it. And I say that, and then immediately you have to backtrack and say there were parts of it I liked, but there were parts of it I disliked so much that they kind of cloud intensely the stuff that was actually good about it. And it's a conflict. And the first conflict, which I want to point out right away, which is one of the reasons why I think I didn't like it, is false advertising. This is sold as a kind of a retro, good-natured adventure action romp based on an 80s IP that already has a movie out there. Like Masters of the Universe, I think was 94, 84. Anyway,
87, I think it was.
Was it 87?
I think so.
So I have that on DVD somewhere, embarrassingly.
Not on VHS?
No,
on,
well, I probably did. Those are all gone. I don't think
Yeah.
I have those anymore.
Yeah.
I think the only VHS I kept were Disney, and I think Andrea, my sister, has those. But this was a comedy. Like, this was a Jumanji level or beyond level of jokes in this film, and none of that was in the trailers that I saw. I will confess that the week leading up to it, when they started to have all those clips on like social media, like the little 1 second stuff, I skipped over those because I didn't want it to I didn't want to see too many trailers, because I thought this could be one of those movies where they put all the good bits in the trailer and then you go to see the movie and you've already seen all the good bits.
Right.
So I kind of skipped those. So I'm sure there's probably some social media clips of Skeletor and other characters making jokes that maybe would have prepared me for this, but I'm not saying it had to be devoid of humor. Like, I feel like action movies can have fun moments in them that make you laugh. I laughed a lot in Top Gun Maverick, but they weren't really low bar, awkward, grindy jokes that were so forced. And that's what really pulled me out of this, was I'll say it, the dick jokes and the fisting jokes in a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe movie. Like, you can make jokes. Why are you making those jokes? It just didn't fit. And the awkward stuff with Skeletor, who most of the time was good, like looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I forgot that it was Jared Leto half the time. His voice was weird, but not in a bad way. It was like, why is he the only one with a British accent? It was what I was asking constantly. And not a very good one. But it was the awkward, like, moments of him laughing and being over the top, which would fit if he didn't stop in the middle and look around and wait for his minions to join in and then explain that he's done now. Like, it's too late. Like, this is when I'm supposed to finish. You're supposed to watch for this. And then the whole time Evelyn is going, yes, my lord. Of course, my lord. Yes, my lord. It was horrible. Because he walks in and looks badass, acts badass, completely owns King Andor, I think is his name. And like wins. Like, Skeletor screws everybody up and wins in that sequence. And then the whole thing has the rug pulled out from under him because he's a boob. And yes, I know that he was a boob in the cartoon. I get it. But that doesn't work on film. It just doesn't work for an audience that's not 5, right? Because this movie was not made for 5-year-old. Again, there are dick jokes in it. It's not meant for 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it's not the Minecraft movie, right? And so that was my biggest thing. It was a tonal confusion, because the movie switches back and forth between about 3 different kinds of films constantly. And it never knows what it wants to be. And it advertised itself as something else entirely. And so that's why I was disappointed in it. There's a lot of other little things that I'll talk about later, but my broad strokes were like, I didn't think it was going to be a comedy. I didn't think it was going to be a raunchy, awkward comedy. And I just didn't think it was going to be that inconsistent. If it was going to be dumb, I thought it was going to be dumb and self-aware the entire time, as opposed to having serious moments or badass moments. I thought it was just going to be terrible the whole time, but there were moments where, like, you get your hopes up and then they just dash them again.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I agree with most of what you said, but then I find I came out of the movie having had a good time. I don't know if you have moments like that too, where it's just like, well, that wasn't great, but I don't know. I still had fun. And for me, it was, I don't know what I expected from the movie itself. I thought some of the self-referential jokes were pretty funny, and it's just like, the names are ridiculous.
Oh, for sure.
Having someone called Ram Man and Mech-a-neck and things like that. They're clearly names of characters from a kid's show in the past. So I thought how they addressed that, and like, because he couldn't remember what their names actually were, so he gave those, and like, oh yeah, you ram into things, so you're a Ram Man, and yeah. So the way they handled that, I thought they did that well. I agree, like the dick jokes were unnecessary. I thought the fisting and fisto joke the first time if they had to just left it at that and say, called you Fisto because you fist people, and you could have just had like this pan over to the group of them, which they did, and just have a single awkward look and just leave it at that. Like it could have been just one of those, him just innocent, half innocently just sticking that comment in there, and everyone like, and instead of it just being, it almost went like, for me, Guardians of the Galaxy with the beating overhead of the joke.
Yeah. 100%.
Don't eat it. It's not ripe yet. However many times. It's like, oh no, fisting joke. Okay, we get it. It was, for me personally, I thought it was funny the first time because like if you didn't dwell on it and then the parents didn't say, oh no, that's inappropriate, it would have been just one of those things that was slipped in there for adult humor and you could have kept going. But
and the thing is that the only person that's supposed to get that is Adam, because they do this awful thing where they mix the culture of Earth with the culture of Eternia. And a lot of the times these jokes depend on Eternians knowing pop culture of America or Earth, and it's not possible. So it's just really poorly written and poorly chosen dialogue. There's a bunch of slang that they use that is awful. At one point, Skeletor says balls right before he gets hit or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, where did he learn that? Like, he's supposed to be this demonic villain from another dimension that is on another world. Like I that stuff just didn't make any sense. Like somebody forgot to proofread the script and go, actually that wouldn't happen. Right. And I think that I agree with you. I think that the Fisto, because the names are dumb, because they weren't even a cartoon series at first. It was a toy series first. So like it was just meant to sell toys. And at the time,
and they're great toy names. They're great toy names.
I mean, Fisto's because it makes sense. He's got a big fist, and everybody in that series of action figures is like something man, Merman, Beastman, He-Man, or it's a really obvious name like Ram Man, Skunkor, Snakeor, like
Trapjaw.
Trapjaw. Like it's very obvious shit, right? So Fisto didn't really feel awkward at all. And I think that if they had just gone with Mech-a-neck, Fisto, Ram Man, and let the audience understand how ridiculous that was, but not have everyone on Eternia think that that's dumb. Like, because Ram Man at the end of it owns the name. He's like, yeah, I am. I'm Ram Man. And he's like, he's all gung ho for it. If he had just been Ram Man the whole time, it would have been fine. It would have been like a name he got in the army or something. And like, maybe he gave it to himself, and it would be fine. I think that it's ridiculous enough that people would just forgive it. If they just like really committed to these names in this universe, and this is how it is on Eternia, it's a different planet. Like you have carte blanche on what you want to do here. And they didn't have the guts to do it. They felt that they had to explain everything to the dumbest common denominator of an American audience, really. And it really, I felt that the entire film. And I had my hopes up at first, like the really brightly colored intro, even like the production companies had neon and rainbow colors in them. The music with the 80s guitar, played by one of the guitarists from Queen, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Was really cool. It really fit. It felt 80s, like it really was ramping up. And I thought, geez, this might be okay. And then the first couple of fight sequences, like when you see the first fight between Trapjaw and Man-at-Arms, who's played by Idris Elba, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like in that corridor where, Trapjaw ultimately wins because they're taking over the castle and the bad guys win in that sequence. But like, it was ridiculous. And I'm sure they sped up the footage at some point, but it wasn't obvious. But it was hard hitting. It was action packed. Trapjaw was switching his arm to a gun and a hook and a blade.
That was pretty slick.
Yeah. Like they were doing all the things that you imagined your action figures to do when you were a kid. And I had these action figures. Like it was very well done. The costumes were awesome. I wasn't sure about Trapjaw at first because of the way that his upper lip moved and stuff, but like you kind of forgave it because ultimately he was still pretty cool. And they didn't give him a silly voice. He was mean. He was menacing. He was I didn't remember this, but apparently Trapjaw is Skeletor's most powerful warrior. I didn't realize that. I didn't remember that from being from a kid. I always thought it was Beastman, but Beastman is also the dumb one. I didn't mind what they did with Beastman. They went kind of over the top with him. Like, he's really big. He's a much larger character. He's the size of a regular person in the cartoon, probably for budget reasons. But then he starts to talk, and he becomes this sniveling, groveling, kneeling peasant of a monster. It's like, it doesn't that's from the cartoon, but it doesn't really fly when you're doing a live action movie with higher stakes. So there's a lot of that I found was just like a back and forth or an imbalance that I didn't particularly like. But I think the strongest thing for me was the action and the production design. All the costumes looked really good. I thought a lot of the vehicles, some of the vehicles from when we were kids were kind of dumb. So I'm glad they didn't do like the attack track or like some of the weird things that they had were very strange. But they felt He-Man-esque. A bunch of saw blades with a seat in the middle. Sure. You know, it's over the top kind of 80s metal stuff.
I was trying to remember, was that actually one of the original toys? Like, was that?
I think so.
A He-Man toy?
They didn't work that way.
Okay.
But I think I remember something that had like a saw blade on it. I'll look this up while you're talking.
And I was trying to remember if it was from He-Man or if I was just remembering it from The Incredibles when they were chasing, the sun around, and I couldn't remember if it was just from way back when as well. But yeah, I agree. Like the production and I thought the CGI was actually surprisingly good for this, because it just seems like it was corny enough of a show that I don't know. It just seems like the CGI doesn't always land these days for whatever reason. I mean, I'll mention Spider Noir a little bit too, because he doesn't do a ton of swinging around all the time, but there's been a couple of points where it's clearly just a very CGI character that's swinging along and then like landing on a wall or something. But I thought the Beast fully CGI'd. He looked like he had weight, and when he was wrecking traffic, I thought that was excellent. And like you said, Skeletor looked fantastic, like really, really great. And then I was never taken out of it by the CGI, which impressed me. And a lot of the action sequences were really good. But then I guess you mentioned something about the final fight sequence.
Yes.
But right before the final one, they did one of the things that always bugs me, where the battle's going on and on and on between Skeletor and Adam, and then Adam gets knocked down, or He-Man gets knocked down, and then Teela rushes over, and they have like a 5-minute conversation. I'm gonna be exaggerating a little bit, but he's laying down, she's over there pep talking him, and it's like the entire battle just stops so they can have this one-on-one conversation, which would, it would never happen. And I find that so many shows and movies do this. Like, they just give them this pocket of space and time where all the badness stops, like right after or right around the time that Skeletor's going, but I'm a bad guy, I'm a villain, I'm as bad as they get, kind of like whatever that monologue was he was doing. And so, but he's so bad, and yet still gave that good chunk of minutes so the two of them could have that heart conversation on the rubble 20 meters from him. It just didn't blows my mind.
Well, it was the same thing when the king died. Like when Adam and his father are having this heart to heart, it goes on forever. And then Skeletor hits him in the back of the head with the Havoc staff and knocks him out. And you're like, seriously? How did that take that long? So Skeletor decided to listen to that? It was just ridiculous. That whole sequence was problematic for me. Talking about the visuals, we should mention that when he does transform into He-Man, it is pretty cool. When he finally...
It was the first time they kind of commit to it with like almost like the full-length version of it. It was... Yeah. I got childhood goosebumps. It was pretty cool. Immediately, again, ransacked by the fact that when he's He-Man, he's still Adam. Like, in the cartoons, they're different people in terms of the personality. Like, he's way more confident and way more... It's more like Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like, Bruce Wayne still has a confidence about him, but when he's Batman, he's badass. And that's the real person. And in this, in He-Man... in the cartoon, I mean, again, I'm remembering from a long time ago, but in any recent versions, Adam is still capable
he's not a sniveling moron. But when he's He-Man, he's not the same personality. He doesn't have the same high-pitched voice. He doesn't have any of that. And when they transform him into He-Man, he looks fine. Like, he looks great. The costume is great. Galaxine did a fantastic job getting buffed for the film, and I know how much hard work that is. And I think he looked the part. And again, as silly as the costume is, with like an X armor that barely protects you and a loincloth, it still works. I don't know how they pulled it off. That must have been thousands of iterations to have that not look ridiculous in costume, right? But it worked. And then he opens his mouth and he's unsure of himself and he's all bumbly. And you're like, no, I don't want Shazam. This is not what I want from He-Man, because He-Man wasn't any of those things. He was still on the right side of good and still had a brain. Like, he was still able to reason and save people and do the right thing and work as a team. But he was also masculine and confident and powerful. And yes, they're doing an origin for He-Man, I guess, but it didn't feel like they followed through as best they could. So you have those moments, and then the minute he starts to fight Trapjaw and he's like tripping over his feet, like it doesn't feel great. Like, you're giving this character the power of Grayskull, this imbued vessel of power that they talk about at the beginning of the film, and it doesn't give him any other dexterity traits other than just like, oh yeah, he can punch stuff really hard. He's still a bumbling fool from HR on Earth, which was painful. Like, there were some funny moments. Like, there was a couple of good jokes in there, but that whole sequence, that act 1 on Earth, was way too long. Like, it was this awful, awkward comedy sequence that I didn't realize that they were going to go that road. I was happy when it was over, and happy when he was He-Man before the end, because I was worried that was going to be like the last 15 minutes of the film.
Oh, yeah.
But then that's really the only time you get to see it. He transforms again later, but it's in a different way, and it doesn't have the same power to it. Because again, right after he does it, he decides to try to HR Skeletor. He tries to talk to him when Skeletor has clearly clearly laid out that he is a bad guy, that he's evil. He just killed your father, and yet you're going to talk to him. And I don't throw this around lightly, but parts of this movie were what I think a lot of people would refer to as woke, in a bad way. It didn't serve the story. It just didn't. It felt contrived and forced, and it didn't fit. And when you go to the theater for the nostalgia of seeing this IP that you grew up with, where He-Man punches stuff, like, again, he's still a team player. He's still able to talk to you and do the reasonable thing and give you a reason for why he's saving the day. But he's still a superhero. He's still Superman. Like, he still punches bad guys. And in this, he should have just laid Skeletor out. It should have been that simple. It should have been a really wicked fight, and he should have eventually been cornered. Like, think about Thor and Hela from Ragnarok. You know, she has him on the ropes. She's taken his eye, and she's like, what are you the god of again? And then he reveals and realizes that he doesn't need his hammer. He comes back and he blasts her, and then comes down and starts fighting and starts saving the day. It's the same idea. It's the same. Hero has been beaten. Hero doesn't believe in himself, and then Hero comes back to save the day. But Thor doesn't try to talk her out of anything. Right? He doesn't land with all of her skull minions and say, listen, guys, I know that we've had our differences, but I spent a couple years on Earth, and so I know, and like, it would be the worst thing ever, which is what this was. I really hated that that's the direction they went with it. It was so disappointing.
It's so funny because, like, you're so right with every single one of your points. And I don't know what it is sometimes, because it's like, yeah, no, Joel's right. It was hot garbage. Like, so why did I come out of that movie having had a good time? Like, what was it about it that made me kind of go, yeah, I had fun? Whereas, like, The Mandalorian and Grogu was arguably a better movie, quality-wise. But for whatever reason, when I came out, maybe it's, I think it's just because expectations, maybe, because I had somewhat low expectations. People were telling me that this was not great, and and Jared Leto kind of ruins it in it. And
I had low expectations for He-Man, believe me.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what it is, because it's just a true reflection of my taste in movies, maybe. But no, like you're right. It is, I would say, objectively not great. But yeah, for whatever reason, I still had a fun time. Like if you're on the fence about it in the theater, maybe don't go see it in the theater, save your money, and then watch it when it comes out on streaming. But yeah, it's you make a lot of good you poke a lot of good holes in my enjoyment of the movie. So
there are parts of it I still had a good time. Like you said, like the Beastman fight sequence, the initial, takeover of Eternos, which I don't remember that was the name of the castle. I'm sure it is. That's something I did not remember, because they don't ever mention Eternia. They always talk about Eternos the entire time. They're only referring to the palace. They're not talking about the whole planet, I think. I thought the sorceress was pretty well done for what she is and who they got, to play. I mean, Monica Baccarin is a good actor. I don't think they gave her enough to do. I think that was a little bit stilted. I kind of wonder how much of this film was cut later on. There's a lot of things that felt kind of helter-skelter as it moved forward. And there's one of the reviews that I watched, I don't remember who it was, but one of the reviews I watched pointed out that there's a rift between Man-at-Arms Duncan and Tila, his daughter. They never resolve that in the film. They tell you they resolve it because everybody's smiling and laughing at the end, but they don't actually fix anything. Like, he doesn't show up for her. He shows up for the robot more than he shows up for his daughter. Yeah. But then everybody seems to be forgiven at the end. Like, they don't really show you that. So I kind of wonder whether that was shot, but then not included, right? Like, there just seem to be some missing pieces. And it's too bad because like you said, I didn't hate all of it. Like, there are parts of it that were really good. Like the chase sequence with I guess they're called Rotons. I sent you an image in the live chat here in our Discord. Yeah. But and I remember that now because of course it didn't have sharp edges for a kid's toy. Like, it didn't look like a real saw blade, right? But it when you pushed, or I think you pulled like a zip strap or something through it, and it would spin. And so those things flying around made sense. When He-Man grabbed one, and there was a moment where sometimes his ineptitude was kind of fun, where he would just I'm going to grab this thing. This is wild. And he grabs it and he goes, huh. And then he throws it into a tree. Yeah. And he's pretty proud of himself. It's that's pretty fun. There's another moment in that sequence where they've crashed and they survived. And then Tila's trying to get something out or from underneath the spaceship. And He-Man lifts it with one hand. And then she's like, wow. And he's like, this is kind of heavy. Could you maybe speed it up a little bit? And so that kind of stuff, it's
that was pretty good.
Yeah, but it does some really cool stuff where it communicates that he's got limits. Like, he's not completely all powerful. He can't lift anything. He can lift a lot of stuff. But, just because you're the most powerful man in the universe doesn't mean you're invulnerable, and doesn't mean that you are capable of anything. You're still a man. And I think that that's a really good way to show it. It's got some humor, some fun stuff. Really didn't like the romance between him and Tila that he kept on forcing, and that she was having none of. There was no chemistry there whatsoever.
No.
But there were other things, like the fight sequence when he was fighting all the other, I don't know what they're called, the other minions in Skeletor's throne room before his father dies. It was Goatman and Cyclops, and there was one other character. Maybe it was Trapjaw. And then a bunch of other Skeletor minions, just like guys in skull costumes. And he was kicking butt. And he was spinning around. He was doing cool stuff. They would stop for a slow-mo thing. He would use someone's arm against them, or he would put the sword, get stuck in the wall, and he would throw somebody at the sword. There was all kinds of really cool things that they did to make it feel unique and not just like another sword fight movie, which I thought was cool. Because that sword is really unique. The blade of it is really more on the end. It's mostly axe in terms of the handle. It's really unique looking. And so they did a lot of really cool stuff like that. The action sequences, the stunt choreography, the costuming, even most of the casting I would say would be pretty good. I think the problem is that you'd end up with someone as talented as Alison Brie, given the worst dialogue in the film.
I know.
And so she looks like she's reading a phone book because it's so awkward. And it's like, it's not her fault. It's not her fault at all. It's whoever wrote it. It's
like, and that was going to be my next point, is the cast. I thought they did I think overall they did a pretty good job
really
of
good
casting. And I think they acted as well as they could with what they were given. So I don't think a lot of our gripes are acting choices. I think that's writing and direction.
Yep.
So actually, I think Nicholas, was it Galitzine?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was actually like a really likable Adam. And so I thought he did fairly well with what he was given. And actually liked Camila Mendes as Tila. I thought she was a really cool, badass character. Agreed. So, points for that as well. I have to find out, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't have a huge problem with Jared Leto as most people do. And so I was going in with this expecting it to be ruined, but other than the jokes that, again, were probably written and directed for him to do, I thought he nailed Skeletor. Like he didn't do the high-pitched laugh, but I think the high-pitched voice and laugh would have been annoying for an entire movie.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
From the cartoon. But I thought he did a solid job with the voice on that. And yeah, Alison Brie, we know, like you said, we know that she's talented, and it was just so not substanceless, but it was just painful.
Evil-Lyn was twirling her mustache more than Skeletor was.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what lines from Skeletor may have been ad-libbed by Jared Leto. I wonder if there's a few that stuck in there. There's a few sequences, I can't remember them entirely, but there's a few moments where I thought like, oh, this is where they let Jared off the leash. Like I can tell there's some bad choices being made here, and it feels like that, because I just watched Tron Ares like 2 weeks ago. So there's some moments from that where it's like, oh yeah, this feels very Jared. But again, like you said, like I put most of it at the foot of the script. Idris Elba is a fantastic actor, and most of this is great.
One of my favorite.
But the first couple lines he says, oh my God, I was like, what are we doing? This is wooden and awful, and who talks like that? But it just, I think it's the delivery, and also it's like, I think a lot of it has to do with the editing too. Like some of the pacing, the lines don't overlap. And so you get these characters say something, and then there's a beat and a silence, and then someone says something else, and it's almost the same thing that the character said just before. And no one turns around to say, I just said that. Like it's really strange. Really, really strange. I also don't know, because I liked Camila Mendes as Tila as well. I don't know why she had blue contacts in the entire movie. They never explain why. She's a beautiful woman, and she's got brown eyes. Why? Like, Tila, I think, I mean, again, I'm going back in my brain. I don't remember whether Tila had blue eyes in the cartoon. I don't remember if other versions of Tila, because I think the most recent one I watched was the Kevin Smith animation disaster, and I don't think she had blue eyes in that either. I mean, she's Caucasian. She's a redhead in the 80s cartoon, and she's like a brunette in the Netflix one.
So blue eyes would make sense with the red hair, though. Like blue or green eyes with red hair is sort of genetically common.
Camila Mendes is not a redhead.
No,
and I'm fine with that. She's fantastic. Why'd you make her have blue eyes? like what was the point? Because I mean, when you put blue-eyed contacts on a brown-eyed person, it just looks fake. I've never seen anybody do it well. So it was distracting the whole time, mainly because I've seen her in other stuff. I was like, why does she look so different? Oh, she's got blue contacts in. That's weird. And they never explain it. So that kind of stuff was odd. There were some Easter eggs that were fun at the end. We got to finally see Orko. Orko was not in the movie, which is fine. I think that probably would have ruined it for me even more.
Yeah, taking us out of it even further.
Yeah. Orko comes in at the end and does like the little speech that was given at the end of these cartoons when we were kids, which was usually the moral of the story. Very G.I. Joe. Kind of like, today we learned that if you're selfish and you don't share with others, then you could, end up not getting what you want in the end. Or like, this person didn't work as a team, and because we worked as a team today, we won and we saved the day. That kind of stuff. And so Orko comes on and explains basically the plot of the movie in a couple sentences. And I've later seen on social media, there's a couple of Easter eggs happening behind him. Merman is in the background, peeking at the camera. And there's a couple of other things that are really cool. in the background. There's a couple of like weapons, and I think Stratos is maybe in the background. Like there's a couple of other things there. And then of course they allude in the post-credit scene to the fact that there's going to be a She-Ra movie with, I don't know who is playing She-Ra. She also felt wooden and stiff. So I don't know whether we're looking at like, we just got a stand-in to play She-Ra and then we're going to recast if we actually get the money to make this movie. It reminded me of the very first time we saw Thanos in one of the end scenes in Avengers. And then later on when we see him, he looks completely different and way better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like their CGI budget ran out entirely when they showed Thanos the first time, and then they put some money into it. But you're exactly right. That's what happened. They have a stand-in actress playing
Adora,
She-Ra right now. They don't actually have the final actress cast.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
but
I mean,
one of the jokey things that I did like throughout the movie was a robot character that you're talking about, Idris Elba.
Oh yes,
Man-at-Arms saved. Roboto, voiced by Kristen Wiig.
Yep.
I thought that her delivery and like her little quips and things were
so good,
adequately snarky and funny throughout the entire movie, and it didn't feel over the top or out of place or anything like that. So I thought that was a really funny character, and it made me one of the legitimately funniest parts in the whole movie where she got just destroyed in it, but then I guess reassembled or body built anew. And at the end, right before they were finishing up, she comes in and it looks more like the toy where she has sort of this clear plate on the front and you can see the gears and mechanisms inside and stuff like that. And they said, there's a comment about, oh, you're looking better. How do you like the new look? And then she goes, I don't know. It's a bit revealing. And then they all put their hands on their hips and start to lean back and like the classic He-Man post-credit. Oh. And it was just, at first I had totally forgotten. So I was like, what are they doing here? Oh my, no, wait. And I was just like processing and looking back through my memory and was like, oh, this is amazing. It's like the equivalent of the Spider-Men pointing at each other. You.
Yes.
And it was just such a good throwback to the cartoon. I really like that.
Yeah, those moments I think worked really well, and it works well at the end, right, where it's not going to affect what's happening next. It's not in the middle of a battle sequence, and those were like classic nods to the cartoon, and I appreciated stuff like that. I thought even though I hated the whole HR thing on Earth, the he/him nameplate on his desk with his pronouns was funny, like that. Yeah. That was a really really good gag, and because they don't hang on it, like it's a beat, and if you're not reading it, you completely miss it, right? They don't beat you over the head with it. And again, like that laugh at the end, it was really funny, but then they did it like 2 more times. And I was like, okay, like I get it. They're laughing in the background. It's funny. Same thing with Adam running off to change into He-Man. And is always going to go do his things. Like, yep, we're just going to pretend like we don't know. Yep. Like it's all this stuff. It's like, why are we hanging here for so long? And then to not show it again. Like, you got once and it was pretty good in the transition, and then they changed the way that he acted after. Then in the finale, same thing. He transformed and it was pretty good, quicker and not as dramatic. And then the tone changes immediately after. We never get to see him change Cringer into Battle Cat. It's apparently a thing. There's jokes that Cringer makes saying like, I should probably have armor before we go in there, right? I should have armor. I thought that was great.
He did have the armor on in a scene at the end, but they didn't. It was never like when they showed He-Man running along at the end. Battle Cat was a thing, but they never actually showed him transforming into Battle Cat or anything like that. So he was just. We don't know if he actually gets powers or if they just put armor on Cringer. It was just such a weird thing.
I really feel like they should have had a sequence where he changes into He-Man after he was in jail with everybody and they have their meeting, which is awful. But once they're out and they're trying to save the day and everybody's fighting, I think rather than Adam coming up and fighting Skeletor, I feel like they should have stolen the sword, or he should have gotten a handle on the sword somehow. Maybe Teela and Man-at-Arms distract Skeletor or something. And then he and Cringer get the sword. And then we would have had a confident transition from Adam to He-Man, and the foreshadowing of Cringer, which was a funny joke of him saying like, are we going in there? That looks kind of scary. I feel like I should have armor on when I go in there. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then
so I thought it was really going to happen.
Yeah. And so I thought it was going to happen. I thought it was foreshadowing, and then it just doesn't happen. And having He-Man confidently point towards Cringer now being unsure, and then the two of them turn into confident hero and trusty Steed, like that would have been epic. I really would have had a good time with that. But like every time, like if me just sitting in the theater here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia can think of a better way to do this, then like you've done something wrong. I should not be able to correct your movie like that. Like you should have better ideas than what were in this. It was disappointing on so many levels.
Fair point.
But yeah, I did have fun at times, but I think mistakenly, I thought that it was going to be something consistent. And if it had been cringy or like a little awkward or felt like a cartoon, but consistent through the whole thing, I probably would have liked it better. Well, rant over. Moving into the Internet Minute. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting some value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, which is shared with my personal Discord, and access to the Barista Cut bonus audio, which is the extended version of the podcast. Special thanks go out to our Bean Counter patrons, EclipseRM and Smurf588. Thank you very much for your support on this episode. Patron count is at 18, which is steady on from the last episode. Our goal each time we sit down to record is to have one more patron. If you would like to be patron number 19, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. And in a weird twist of events, I do not have a pick this week, so it is all on you.
Oh, for my pick, it's an animated short called Singularity, and it was created by the Blender team as sort of a demo of what Blender can do as 3D animation software. And it's on YouTube. I think it was about 6 minutes long, and the summary they have there is: our story takes place in a distant age of the universe when stars and galaxies were young. When an ominous cosmic event swallows the icy home of a small space critter, he must find refuge among a group of luminous creatures watched over by a mysterious celestial being. And it's a beautiful piece. You can tell that it's 3D animated, but the quality of the texture and the lines gives it a very sort of artsy 2D feel to it. And the colors are so vibrant, and even though I was watching it as a video on my computer, just the way that they did it made this ominous cosmic event and the celestial being look huge. Like, so they can't be any bigger than my computer screen, but it was really well done, and so highly recommend it. Only a handful of minutes long, and it's beautiful little piece.
I just threw on the first couple of minutes here silently as you were talking, and it is stunning looking. Very, very cool. Great sense of scale. And there's definitely some animation that's like on twos. So like, yes, it's CG, but they've used some animation techniques to make it look kind of like Spider-Verse, like that kind of level of artistry. So it feels more handmade, not hand drawn, but feels more frame to frame handmade. Very, very cool. And some great special effects. And I mean, you want to show off some CG stuff, like put stuff in space and make it glow and it'll look really, really fun.
It's true.
True. Just some super, super cool stuff happening. I'll watch this after the show. This looks really, really cool. I like stuff like this. I need to go and finish the Love, Death and Robots series on Netflix. And I didn't, before my subscription ran out, I did not finish the not Tales of the Jedi. Is it Tales of the Jedi? Star Wars. What's the Star Wars anthology series on Disney Plus, the animated one? Do you remember what that is?
I don't remember. I didn't actually watch it.
Visions. Star Wars Visions is what it's called.
Visions.
Yes. Also highly recommend. Not all of them are up my alley, but they're definitely worth checking out. Some of them are very well done. Because there's like handmade ones, there's like a samurai one, and then there's some of them that are kind of kiddie, and there's one that I think there's a pod racer one. I think I enjoy Love, Death and Robots more because those are always so out there and so different. And the quality on some of those are just beyond top notch. Like it just 100%. Wonder what the budget of some of those are for such a short piece. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Stephen and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on social media. Subscribe for free on all the major podcasting platforms. The RSS feed and show notes are available on our website. And you can also check out the Patreon feed. The Patreon feed includes the Barista Cut, which is the extended version of the podcast. My name is Joel Duggan, and I will point you towards my other podcast, The Spawn Chunks. It's all about Minecraft. It's available on Mondays on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. We do that one in video, so you can watch it on YouTube or on Spotify. You can also go to thespawnchunks.com for the show notes. Follow me at Joel Duggan on social media. I stream Tuesday through Saturday at 9 a.m. in the morning on Twitch, where I'm mostly playing Minecraft. But on Fridays lately, I've been trying out some other games. So come on by. It's a lot of fun. Stephen, where can people find you online?
If anywhere these days, I'm either on Blue Sky at StephenESC or on Mastodon at StephenESC@mstdn.ca.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.